Good morning. You guys are going to be adding in information about the phase changes that matter can go through. So I'm going to show you real quick. We'll add it to our table of contents on page 8. We'll flip through. Let's see. Okay, so we last left off with the 3 states of matter. We're going to flip to the back of that page. See, we're not skipping any pages. And then right here, we're going to add in phase changes. And this looks like a lot, but it's really not. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is cut these out real quick. And we know that the 3 states of matter that we've talked about are solid, liquid, and gas, meaning that all matter, for the purpose of this class, can be in one of those 3 phases. And what we're learning about today and tomorrow is how sometimes they can change from one physical state or from one state to another, and how there is usually or there's always a change in temperature involved. Here's this. I'm going to get these cut out on the wonderful cards. Okay. Here's my cards. And then for this one, only cut the dotted line, so I'm going to cut up to the tab, and then we'll glue the tab down. Okay. You see we have that. And we're going to glue the tab over here. Okay. I'm going to try to fit the thermometer on the same page. We'll see. Okay. Okay, so we are going to talk about how matter changes from one state to another. For the most part today, we're going to talk about water, but there's all different ways that the phases can change. Glue this down. I'm just going to have to overlap a little bit. That's okay. Okay, so evaporation would be when there is a liquid going to a solid. Let me grab my marker. My goodness. I'm going to go ahead and this is phase changes. And here are the different changes that we're going to talk about. And it's super important to remember that there's a change in temperature. So it's either getting hotter or colder whenever these things are happening. For evaporation, that is going to be when liquid turns into a gas. And we're going to note that heat is added. So it's getting hotter. And it's when a liquid goes to a gas. This is usually also talked about as the boiling point of something, but that's when it turns from a liquid to a gas. The next one is going to be condensation, and that is whenever a gas goes to a liquid. And with this, heat is removed. So that heat energy is removed and it turns from a gas back into a liquid. And then freezing is going to be a liquid to a solid. And this is going to be, again, heat is removed. So it's getting colder and colder. Okay. And then lastly, we have melting, which is a solid to a liquid. And for this one, heat is added. Okay. The pictures that you have, we're going to glue them on the back of these because they're examples of the different ones. So for this one, it would be evaporation. So I'm going to glue it on the back of the evaporation one. And it's just a picture to help you remember that this is evaporation is whenever it turns from a liquid to a gas. This one would be freezing. Right here, from a liquid to a solid. Again, freezing. Water from a liquid to a solid. This would be evaporation because of the steam. We have melting from a solid to a liquid. Again, melting from a solid to a liquid. And then these two are both going to be condensation. So we have our cloud. We know in the water cycle, it turns from, after it evaporates, it turns back into a water vapor whenever it goes into the sky because it kind of cools off a little bit or heat is removed. And then condensation on the side of your cup. That is when your cup is colder than the air on the outside of your cup, and the water vapor in the air is formed on the side of your cup. Okay. There we go. And then lastly, we are going to go over the thermometer over here. I just want you to be aware of the different temperatures that all of these are going to happen. So, like I said, phase changes depends heavily on temperature. This is our thermometer. We will always be working in degrees Celsius. Okay. And if we're talking about water, freezing point is going to be 0. I'm going to label it here. 0 degrees Celsius. Okay. So here it would be a solid. Okay. And then our next one is going to be at 100. There is a boiling point. That's 100 degrees Celsius. There we go. And here is going to be a gas. And all of this would be liquid. So in the range from 0 to 100, water would be a liquid. Anything hotter than 100 degrees Celsius would turn into a gas. Anything colder would be a solid. Okay. All right, so you're just going to make sure that you have all of this inside of your journal to reference whenever you need it. Evaporation, liquid to gas, condensation, gas to liquid. Freezing is liquid to solid, and then melting would be solid back to a liquid. There you go.